Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Q Bennett, Heat, Michael Hasser, Cosmic Seeking. Welcome, everybody. It is Wednesday. Hope everyone's doing okay. We have a few things to go through. once again, folks, reminder to like the stream, subscribe to the YouTube, and also, don't forget, folks, if you haven't done so already, join the Discord at the end of the month. Last Saturday, there will be a movie event. This time it will be a holiday-themed movie event. So join the Discord. We're thinking Nightmare Before Christmas. So if you want to be a part of that, join the Discord. You can also just kind of keep up with the channel and hang out with some awesome people. Yes, subscribe to the YouTubes. Join us. That's right. All right, folks, we got to get this started. I think I think we should start with a meme story, yeah? I think we should start with a meme story because I think it's funny. Also, thank you to Ariana Jasmine for a shout out yesterday. Thank you to Baby Violet for the offline follow. I appreciate that.
It's a very dark, evil force. And I truly hope people know how to battle that.
Shelly Flockhart from Dallas Center says she was shocked to see it at the Capitol.
Okay, come on in.
Flockhart organized a prayer group on Wednesday around the Christmas tree in the center of the rotunda to oppose the satanic display near the stairwell. She calls it dark and evil and says Christians should spiritually fight against it.
One, I hope people realize.
The Satanic Temple doing the Lord's work. Phenomenal stuff. Gotta love the Satanic Temple.
Spiritual warfare is real, that there are evil, satanic forces that are trying to infiltrate our state.
Once again, American evangelicals are learning that religious freedom doesn't just apply to them. And after the Satanic Temple in Iowa was given permission to exercise their religious liberty by putting up their own holiday display at the state capitol, predictably, mass hysteria ensued, and many Iowan evangelicals are outraged that the Republican governor is not doing enough about this satanic display. For example, Brad Sherman, a Republican lawmaker in Iowa, called for Governor Kim Reynolds to remove the display and even introduced legislation prohibiting the display. But Kim Reynolds resisted that call and released a statement.
Oh man, religious freedom, huh? Yeah. I think what they mean by religious freedom is we have the freedom to impose our religion on you. That's what they mean by religious freedom.
Condemning the display as absolutely objectionable, but ultimately chalked it up to a free speech issue, which enraged her right-wing constituents, who called her response milquetoast. That's not how you spell that, by the way. And
they're not sending their best, folks. Okay.
not good enough. Others responded saying, a bad interpretation of the First Amendment doesn't supersede our duties and your duties as a civil magistrate to God. And another person chimed in saying,
man. Love it. Yellow King, how's it going?
That is at best a disappointing response. Any authority granted to the governor or any other elected officials come from where and to do what? This display is designed to do one thing: mock the creator who grants that authority. It should be burned on the Capitol steps. Now, despite the criticism, Kim Reynolds did not capitulate, but in her first statement, as you might have saw, she did encourage people to join her at the Capitol for a mass prayer event. And she tweeted about this, referencing, while not naming, the satanic display, writing, "Free speech is a right afforded to all, but how we use it matters. Today's event is proof that in the battle between good and evil, good will always prevail." But of course, people were still angry. But before we get to some more responses, it is important to know why that display deserves to be there. So Lana explains, "See, the Supreme Court long ago created a loophole in the First Amendment to allow religious displays by arguing that as long as every group gets to have one, it doesn't violate the No Establishment of Religion clause. By putting up altars to Satan next to the annual nativity scenes."
I love this. Okay, I love this. So obviously, like, you know, at least on paper, like, one of the principles supposedly that we adhere to is freedom of religion, meaning that the government can't impose like a national religion. The government can't make laws imposing religion on everybody. And the Supreme Court found that, yeah, like, displays, as long as everyone gets to have their religious displays, or as long as everyone has that option, then it can't violate the First Amendment, because that's not the government imposing one particular religion. I mean, like, honestly, like, the fundamentalist extremist tiers are quite gratifying, to be honest.
The Satanic Temple makes their point about the silliness of this loophole. More important, however, is the trolling part. Every year, Christian conservatives discover the satanic display and have a loud public temper tantrum about it. In this, Satanists prove their point. Conservatives claim to respect religious plurality, but it's a lie.
Yeah, they
the
don't.
overt religious icon.
They don't. Like, just to be very clear, it doesn't matter with any of these conservatives tell you, they don't. They don't respect religious freedom or anything like that. Because, like, it's built in to their religion. Alio, how's it going?
Pornography on government property was always about promoting the Christian nationalist view that theirs is the only real American religion. And that right there is exactly it. So you can either have no religious displays at all on public property, or you can allow all religions to have their own displays, but you don't get to play favorites. You can't have your cake and eat it too, because if you just allow one religion to be on public property, that's unconstitutional. It violates the First Amendment. But since conservatives are constitutionally illiterate, they can't understand why the Republican governor isn't just overriding the
I don't know. I think they're well aware. They're just big mad that they can't be the authoritarian a-holes that they want to be. They're just big mad that, written in the very same constitution that they claim to care about, that freedom of religion applies to everybody. Applies to literally everybody in every religion. There's no favoritism here. That's what they're really big mad about. Because in their worldview, any other religion is an affront to their God. They could always have a Muslim tribute there too, if they so wish. Yeah, if they so wish. Yeah, a Muslim group can absolutely have their display if they wanted to. That's the whole point.
Constitution and taking it down. And because she's not doing that, it's turned into an all-out scandal for Republican Governor Kim Reynolds. Conservative news outlet The Post Millennial reports that Kim Reynolds is under fire over the satanic display. And the same Republican lawmaker who introduced the bill to ban it is accusing her of being wrong about the legality of it. But she's right and he's actually wrong. But him pretending as if she can or should do something is 50% cope and 50% pandering to his evangelical base. I think that he's probably jockeying for like higher office here saying, look, she just let this Satanism persist, but I would do something about it. Well, no, you couldn't do anything about it either, because that's what the Constitution allows. The only thing you could do is take down all religious displays, including the Christian ones, but you don't want to do that, so you just have to shut the fuck up about it. But I mean, despite this being perfectly legal, obviously so, it hasn't stopped Christian conservatives in the state from shitting themselves and having non-stop temper tantrums.
Honestly, it's hilarious to me. To me, it's hilarious because it really does show, like, it really does show what these people are actually about, right? It's a perfect exercise of displaying what these people are actually about.
For example, this MAGA account on Twitter called it a mockery of our Savior Jesus Christ's birthday and pointed out that the state of Iowa allowed it because the Satanists, quote, followed the rules. Yeah, that's pretty much how that works.
Oh man, like this is like a perfect case study, right? This is a perfect case study to point to when dealing with these kind of people. You mean you actually followed the Constitution the way it was interpreted, and the Supreme Court agrees as well? Well, that's no fun.
Works. But let's watch the clip that he shared, because at the end you'll see why he's so triggered.
You know, over the weekend, the Satanic Temple of Iowa came in, put up their display. A spokesperson for the Iowa Department of Administrative Services said there's a procedure to apply for getting to have your display there, and they followed that and met the guidelines for that. But this display is located near the east door by the stairs on the first floor. Now today, members of the Satanic Temple of Iowa were on hand with the display. They declined to do an interview. They told me to refer to the Satanic Temple website. And on that national site, the main issues they are promoting are abortion as a religious right and establishing after-school Satan clubs.
I'm sure that's going to go over well. Now, the co-founder of the Satanic Temple responded to backlash, and his response was perfectly reasonable.
We're going to really relish the opportunity to be represented in a public forum. We don't have a church on every street corner.
Lucien Greaves, co-founder of the Satanic Temple, says this satanic display is a symbol for their right of religious freedom. He says if you don't like it, don't look at it.
My feeling is that if people don't like...
Alios on 12 biddies, thank you. Phenomenal stuff.
Our displays in public forums, they don't have to engage with them.
Yeah, it's really that simple. And here's the thing. If you actually look at the display itself, nothing that it's promoting is objectionable. And we know this because conservative journalist Libby Emmons of the Post Millennial filmed the display, and it advocates for compassion and empathy, as well as justice and individual liberty and science and rectifying one's mistakes for purposes of harm reduction. There is literally nothing objectionable here, but Christian conservatives are just too triggered by the Baphomet statute to even consider the objectively good values that the Satanic Temple is promoting. And I say this because the responses to that video indicate that that is indeed the case. Quote, "This is spitting in the face of Christian values during the month of Christmas, if at all the times. Pure evil." Fuck that, smash it.
Yeah, so, yeah, just to be clear, like, Christmas isn't even, like, a Christian holiday. Okay. Yeah. There's nothing Christian about Christmas, okay?
False, since the entire religion was established as a hate group against Christian believers. It's a hate crime, and people need to file charges against the state for engaging in religious intimidation and hate.
True.
Very, very normal reaction here.
True, like, and these are the same people that will, like, literally say that hate crime isn't, like, a thing. These are the same people that will say, like, oh, well, there's no such thing as hate crimes. These liberal snowflakes, they're just talking about nonsense when, with regards to hate crimes. The church lady, it's understood. She's a hypocrite and made clear by Dana Carvey. I don't know who the church lady is.
was put up during Advent as a mockery of Christianity. This isn't an established religion with a robust history around which our culture was built, and it shouldn't be given the same protections as one. Now, that's not the totality of responses. Many atheists also joined in to troll the butthurt Christians, but there's no shortage of outrage over this statue. If you decide to look, you're just seeing like a small snapshot. But I do want to give credit to one Republican lawmaker in Iowa, Representative John Dunwell, who also happens to be a pastor, because he released a really thoughtful and lengthy response following the outrage, explaining how this organization got legal permission in the first place to erect their own holiday display, and also explaining that even though he personally finds the display objectionable and antithetical to his worldview as a Christian, he's guided by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, the point being is that, like, your religious gobbledygook does not supersede anybody else's. Okay, in terms of like the eyes of the government, as far as the government's concerned, what you believe is your business, and the government has no business imposing one religion over any other. Oh, it's from SNL? Yeah, sorry. I don't really watch much SNL or ABC, to be quite frank. To be quite frank, I don't watch a lot of TV, like a lot of cable or mainstream TV. I'll be honest.
And thus can't support its removal. And he also adds, it's just an inanimate object with no real power. Therefore, Christians have no reason to be fearful of it. Now, listen, him and I probably disagree on everything, but him and I having opposing views, but maintaining that mutual respect for each of us to practice or not practice what we want or don't want to makes living in a pluralistic society possible. It's called freedom. So as an anti-theist, even though I disagree with him and his religion, I respect his principled statement here in support of the statue. But after releasing this well-reasoned and thoughtful statement, go ahead and take a guess as to how evangelicals responded. Well, of course, they ripped him a new asshole. This person responded saying, I am literally not reading any of that, but to give quarter to enemies of God is pathetic and...
What? Bro, wild. Total and complete snowflake meltdown. Man, Christians are like the biggest snowflakes.
Contemptible. Now, he tried to reason with this person with another long and thoughtful response, only to get this response in return. When you stand before the seat of judgment, are you going to serve our Lord that word salad? And he just responded by saying, saved by grace. Now, this person responded to the original post saying, all these Christians are saying I'm wrong. Clearly, they're incorrect, which is a bit of a rip on the Principal Skinner meme from The Simpsons. He responded...
Yeah, also, like, that's illogical, okay? That's illogical. I forget what it's called. Let me see. Ad populum fallacy. Yeah, there you go. Something, just because a large number of people say so does not mean it's true, okay?
Responded to that, saying the path of Christ is a narrow path rejected by most. Another one here. Satanism is not another religion to give credence to. It is the worship of evil per se. To put it on the level of other religions is a mockery of every religion to ever exist. Everyone should be offended by this. His response, I don't want government empowered to make those decisions. Some more responses here. The more words you use to justify a position merely weakens your position.
Wow, man, that says volumes, right? Man, the more time you take and the better you try to articulate your position, the more weak it is, because la 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 la, can't hear anything. Yeah, that's wild. Also, very important to fascism. So you can kind of tell here. You mean Republicans and evangelicals, which are just Republicans, must convert everyone to their view of religion, still fascist and authoritarian. Yes, the Republicans are fascist and authoritarian. Yes.
Coward, Jesus himself would have destroyed it just as he did in the temple and threw everyone out. One nation under God. The people who wrote that would not have said, but we are cool with Satan hanging out here too, because let's be inclusive. Oh my, that moment when you wake
Under God was never part of that. It was added to, it was added during, like, the Cold War Red Scare days. Yeah. It was to show those godless commies.
wake up one morning and realize you've literally become Satan's defense attorney. Got him. And last but not least, you're a big old cuck.
Yeah, phenomenal. I'm so glad to be rid of this community I grew up in. Twitter forgets Jesus met Satan at least twice in the Bible. Well, no, it's not Twitter. These are real people that really believe this. But yeah.
Yeah, so there you have it. Now, let this be a lesson to everyone. There is no reasoning with Christian supremacists, especially when their emotions are overriding what little logic exists in their tiny brains. And I've learned this the hard way with family. It's just a lost cause. They're operating on an entirely different plane of reality than everyone else. So engaging with them is as useful as engaging with a brick wall. You'll get nowhere. They're just incapable of learning. So it's best to just not even try.
Yeah, like, hey, remember? Hey, wow, whoa. Hey, it's almost like I've said that before, right? Like, there's literally no point in engaging in conversation with the opposition if the opposition is literally living in a completely alternate plane of reality, okay? Like, if I'm on planet Earth and I'm literally, like, with both feet planted on the ground talking, like, objective reality, you can't have a conversation with somebody talking about flat Earth, right? You just cannot have a conversation. There's no back and forth here. They're just objectively wrong. They're living in a completely alternative reality that's divorced from any real facts. Yeah.
To convince them, because it's not going to work. They have to at least have that initiative to want to change. But when they're triggered like this, you're not going to get through to them. But I do have to give them credit for being absolutely fucking hilarious. Unintentionally so, but hilarious nonetheless.
Yeah, that's basically the only reason I'm even going over this. Okay, it's just funny. Funny thing is, Christians feel the same way. Don't cast your pearls before the swine. Oh, I see. We're the swine. Got it. Whew. Goes right over their heads, huh?
So, yeah, with that being said, hail Satan and happy holidays, everyone.
Ah, that's hilarious. Love it. Hail Satan! When people ask what Jesus would do, flipping tables and beating rich people with a whip is in the realm of possibility. When people ask what would Jesus do, flipping tables and beating rich people with a whip is in the realm of possibility. Yeah, but they don't like that. Bipedal. They've changed they've performed Olympic levels of mental gymnastics. See, that Jesus is weak, woke, liberal Jesus, okay? And we don't talk about that Jesus, okay? Yeah, Republican Jesus. Yeah, capitalist Jesus. I mean, I've shown the video before. GOP Jesus. Yeah, that's like it went from being satire. Man, how long ago was that? Was that video? $5 years ago. Okay. It went from being satire to literally just being how they think now.
Truly I say unto you, whoever welcomes one of these little...
Hold on. Unironically, like this went from satire to like literal exactly what they believe now.
Truly I say unto you, whoever welcomes one of these little ones in my name might be letting in a murderer or a drug. Let's get her to a detention center, you know, so we can figure out what's going on. I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. And behold, now I'm all lazy and entitled. You shouldn't have done that. Do unto others as you suspect they might want to do unto you. What is a man profited if he gain the whole world but lose his soul? A lot. He has profited a lot. One soul for the whole world, that is an amazing deal. Why do you look at the speck of dust in your brother's eye, but ignore the plank in your own? Because of her emails. Yes. If a man strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him and shoot him. That is the law. If you want to be perfect, go. Sell all the possessions that you have and give the money to a solid mutual fund. By this, they will know that you are my disciples. That you say, Merry Christmas! Christ! Christmas! That's my name in there, and I put it in there because I wanted it in there so we could all celebrate Big Boy Jesus' birthday time! Okay? Okay.
Rabbi,
That is the law.
Rabbi, surely you can heal me.
My child, of course I could. But who would pay for it?
What? I don't understand. I don't have any money.
Yes, it is a sad story, but it does not make me responsible. It is super duper easy for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The richer, the better, really. Maybe get a solid gold house, just to be sure. Love your neighbor as yourself. Unless you are better than your neighbor, then tell them that they're weird and you do not want to bake them a cake. You have heard it said, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say to you, any man who looks upon a woman with lust in his heart should go ahead and do what he's gotta do.
Lord, your followers grow hungry, and we have only this fish and bread.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff. That's literally basically what these people are now. That's true. They don't satire. Whew, not a thing that they understand. Sad part is when they think heaven is like an eternal Trump rally where they get to stand alongside all their dead relatives. Most of the Trump supporters can't even do a 2-hour Trump rally. How are they supposed to handle an eternal rally? Jeez. Can you imagine? Yeah, it's a phenomenal meme, and it's pretty it's pretty timeless, right? Ever since it was made, from like 5 years, and now it is even more relevant, right? And that video was done like 5 years ago. and it is more relevant than ever, I guess. Given the story we went over. 5 years is a long time in internet time, okay? All right, we gotta switch gears because the memes will continue. Let's take a quick look at Beanie Man, who has very good analysis on a video game. All right, take it away, Tim.
But here's my thing. When I play GTA, okay, you are running around punching and beating people and shooting people and stealing cars. Yeah. You know, personally, I don't want to play a female character. It's not... I don't know if it really matters, but...
So, for context, Tim has a very, very good record of being an absolute misogynist. Okay? I'm having dinner! Oh man, twice in a row. Hey, listen, at least, like, it's not as bad as Matt Walsh, okay? It's not as bad as Matt Walsh.
But it's kind of weird in my mind. And you know, you can tell me that I'm wrong or something. I don't know. It's just how I feel. Like,
yeah, you're just wrong, dude. Call him Tim Poop because everything he says is shit. True. Also, just to be clear, okay? You know, if in case I haven't like stated it enough for the record, as a Beanie fanatic, okay, as a adamant Beanie wearer, okay, we do not claim him, okay. As someone who frequently wears beanies, we do not claim him.
this lady's going to run up to a random guy in the street and punch him, and he's going to go down? Nah, come on. Yo, if your average woman ran up to your average guy and swung a fist at him, it's not going to hurt him. I mean, it may hurt a little bit, but it's not going to, like, put him down. And then, so my point was, like, okay, so you play as this character, you run up and punch a random guy, and then he just clocks you in the face one time, you go down wasted. You lose all your HP instantly, and then you wake up outside the hospital. But here's my thing.
Yeah, so, in case this even needed to be said, it's a freaking video game, dude. Okay? Yeah, the whole game is unrealistic. Yeah, because it's a video game, okay? You're saying that you can ram your car full speed into the building and just drive off? Yeah, like, would he be saying the same thing? Like, as a male character, you can just get in a car, drive, and, like, do stuff that obviously, like, in real world would immediately, like, unalive you. Yeah, dude, but you know, he draws the line at, like, oh, it's not realistic because, you know, women. It sounds like to me the problem here is that you just hate women. Okay? Yeah, he has to take any opportunity to be a misogynist. Yeah, 100%. Like, I remember very distinctly, a while back, and by a while back, I mean, like, a couple years. Again, a couple years in internet is, like, forever, millennia ago. But yeah, he was saying that, like, oh, women aren't as good. They're just not able to be as good as men in chess. What? Bro. It's not even released until 2025. Yep. And now it's woke because there may or may not be a trans character in it. I don't know. Whatever. There are many women that are way stronger than men. Yeah, that's true. That's a thing that has happened. That's a thing that is that you know, that's a thing that's true. Also, even as a man, I'm pretty sure that I too cannot just go around and like clocking people and knocking them out in one hit, okay? That's not a thing that all men can do either. You know? Like not every guy can just walk around and start like knocking people out, okay? The whole thing is pretty dumb, okay? The whole statement is pretty dumb. They don't just explode into like whenever my manly fists make contact with another human being, red mist. But if a woman does it, doesn't hurt. Now I'm choking on my cookie. Also, demographics, there's more women than men in the world. True. Anyways, phenomenal quality video game analysis by Tim Pool, huh? Pumpkin Tool. Personally, I like Pim Tool, okay? Personally, I like Pim Tool. Hey, what's with that username? Plus, most of the time you're looking at the protagonist probably wants to look at a man's ass in 4K for hours on end. That's a pretty suspect username. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. The point is, yes, there are women who have or who are more than capable of more than capable of giving a guy the business, okay? I know this because I used to do martial arts for a very, very long time. Trust me, they thought this through. It's not It's not woke, it's capitalism. Yep. Yeah, like, just to be clear, like, the whole woke thing, like, they don't even know what the heck they're talking about. To them, like, woke just means, like, oh, there's, like, minorities in video games. That's it. That's the extent of the thought process. They're like, oh, yep, there's a trans person. One trans character. Game's woke. Oh, there's a black character in a video game. Game's woke. I mean, I like to play a girl sometimes to be represented. However it happens is okay, I guess. Yeah, like, just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with, like, playing as a girl or playing as a guy or creating your character the way you want it. Like, it's a video game, okay? You're there to have fun and immerse yourself in a video game world, okay? It's not real life. You'll be all right. There's no need to be triggered because there's a trans character in a video game. But these people happen to melt down every time it happens. Honestly, they're just mad that there are minorities, period. Plus, I want someone to comment to Tim Pool that he apparently likes staring at men's asses for hours because he wants a cis male protagonist. Which, hey man, if that's what he wants, maybe that's maybe that's what he wants. Nothing wrong with that. Because Jodie Whittaker was a female Doctor Who and new actor. I don't know how to pronounce it. Identifies as queer. People say Doctor Who's woke. It's drama, sci-fi. It's the woke point. Yeah, and also, like, Doctor Who has been very inclusive, like, way before. Okay, so to say that, like, now this is a new thing, they're just wrong. And they can't claim to be, like, Doctor Who fans if they didn't know that, like, this is not, like, new. Anyways, they're just mad that, you know, they're just mad that minorities exist in media, and yeah, it's just bigotry. Thanks, Tim Pool. I have an X account, but I think I already blocked Tim Pool. Okay. I think I already blocked him. And the Moses woman character in Obi-Wan? What? There was a woman in my Obi-Wan series? What? This is an outrage. I no longer want to. I no longer will entertain the idea of watching Obi-Wan because there's a woman character in it.
In an interview with CNN host Aaron Burnett this week, Freedom Caucus member, Republican Congressman Ken Buck admitted freely that he has absolutely not seen a single shred of evidence that implies that President Biden engaged in any kind of criminal wrongdoing. However, Buck says he's still inclined, to vote for the impeachment. Now, let me restate that in case you didn't quite hear it. He admits there's no evidence that...
Yeah, so this is kind of like the thing that we've known since the beginning because they've admitted it themselves. It's not the first time, by the way, they've said this. But this whole thing is a dog and pony show, okay? Listen, if you've got, like, actual legitimate evidence that Biden's, like, done some corrupt shit, like, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised, okay? But like, damn, just come with the receipts, okay? The issue is that that's never going to happen because glass houses, right? Nobody wants to touch that.
President Biden committed a crime. And by the way, Buck has been saying that for quite some time. So he hasn't changed his tune there. But he does say, but you know what? Yeah, maybe we'll just do it, right? I mean, I know there's nothing there, but hey, let's just do it anyway? Because that's apparently how impeachment works these days. Here is specifically what Buck said. He said, I'm struggling right now, I have to tell you. On the one hand, I have come out strongly and said there's no direct evidence linking President Biden with the activities of Hunter Biden. And at the same time...
right there is where this whole thing should stop, right? Like, right then and there is where this whole thing should stop. I've come out strongly and said there's no direct evidence linking President Biden with the activities of Hunter Biden. Well then, okay, conversation's over. Everybody can go home. Congratulations. All right. Next topic. Okay? That's where the conversation should have ended, right? All the receipts keep spontaneously combusting. True.
The White House recently sent a letter after these committees issued subpoenas to the White House. The White House sent a letter back and said, you haven't held an impeachment inquiry vote yet, and we're not going to give you any records until you pass an impeachment inquiry. I think that's an absolutely wrong position and a delay tactic, which would necessitate Congress going to the courts and having the courts enforce the subpoena. So I wish the White House wouldn't have done that. I don't think there is direct evidence. I'm struggling. And I want to read the resolution before making a final decision on whether to vote for it or not.
Wow, dude. This is like phenomenal, right? This is phenomenal. So like we're impeaching Biden over alleged corruption, and we're admitting that there's no real evidence that the corruption is occurring. But we're gonna go through it anyways. Even though I've already admitted, just in this statement alone, twice, that there's no evidence. But we're just gonna, go through it anyways. Phenomenal stuff. Apparently Ken Buck has the reasoning power of swamp moss. I don't know. I think there is some logic behind the I think there is some logic behind the statements. Only insofar as, like, these people know that these people know that ultimately Donald Trump's base essentially is what dictates what happens in the Republican Party. So viewing it through that lens, like, he's not doing it because it's the logical and right thing to do. He's doing it because his political career is kind of linked with that, right? Quit with your logic. No need for that here. I hate that. True. Logic is bad.
I get it. You're a lawmaker. You don't want to vote on this impeachment inquiry, which is what we're talking about here. This is not the final impeachment vote. You want to read it. I'll give you that. Here's the thing, though, pal. You're admitting, again, in your statement, you're like, there's no evidence. but the White House wasn't really nice to us, so I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to stick it to them a little bit. Okay, so that's where we're at. That's how things are going to be, right? Like
while simultaneously screeching about how the Biden administration is weaponizing like the Justice Department or whatever, or is weaponizing government against their political rivals. These are the same people. Same people.
Oh, they were kind of rude. They sent a letter and I didn't like the words that they used, so I guess we have no choice but to try to remove this man from office. Oh well, I didn't want to, but you hurt my feelings. Like, that's the argument you're gonna go with? Like, well, and I gotta read the thing first. What do you need to read? Listen, look, everybody should read more. I should read more. You're a lawmaker, you should read everything you vote on. But let's be clear, you're already admitting we got nothing.
Yeah, like, so the conversation doesn't really even need to be happening, right? Like, unless you have some serious, like, evidence, which, again, you know, it wouldn't really be surprising, okay? If you, if you found evidence of, like, a corruption scandal. All right, that's not surprising, nor would be, it would not be surprising or shocking. But to just make, like, these accusations, knowing that at least with these accusations you have no evidence, and then deciding to go full steam ahead. I mean, also knowing the fact that, like, it's gonna be a pretty close vote in the House as it is, and it's not gonna go anywhere in the Senate at all. You know,
my fellow Republicans got nothing. Nobody's got anything. So yes, read it. But honest to God, dude, your mind should be made up already. You have the chance to do the right thing here. But you're screwing it up, and you're being a typical, pissy Republican pants because they were a little mean to you. You didn't like the tone of their letter. Grow the hell up. You're an adult. Act like it. You're a lawmaker. Act like it. It is your job to go to Congress and be a professional, not to be a partisan hack that just goes along with BS that you are admitting is wrong.
Have you seen the Republican Party?
Wrong, but you're struggling with it. Well, struggle all you want. Launch the formal inquiry if you want. I honest to God don't care. Because there's no good outcome for any of this for the Republicans. Biden's approval rating is going to jump to the point where he is going to slam Donald Trump in next year's elections if y'all go through with this impeachment. So do it, help him out. Don't do it, help him out that way. Either way, doesn't bother me. I don't think it bothers Biden either. So be wishy-washy. Pretend that, oh, you're on the fence, I'm having a moral issue. You sound just like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski with voting for Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court, right? Like, oh, I don't know, I've got reservations. And then when it comes down to it, you're like, yep, let's do it. Because that is what Republicans always do. They pretend to have this moral conflict of interest and, oh, we're not sure, I'm divided, I don't know this is right. And at the end of the day, they do it anyway because it's all for show.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, fall in line. Just not that long ago, as we were, going over this, or right before we were going over this, I should say. Yeah, apparently, the House ended up voting formally to formally open the impeachment inquiry. The vote divided along party lines. So it's gonna happen, folks. Okay. All right, so moving on. So the slippery slope continues. The Supreme Court will rule on limits on a commonly used abortion medication. The nine law wizards are going to make decisions over medication. Yeah. Well, isn't that special? The Supreme Court agreed on Wednesday, today, to take up a dispute over a medication used in the most common method of abortion in the U.S., its first abortion case since it overturned Roe. The justices will hear appeals from the Biden administration and the maker of the drug mifepristone, asking the High Court to reverse an appellate ruling that would cut off access to the drug through the mail and impose other restrictions, even in states where abortion remains legal. The restrictions include shortening from the current 10 weeks to 7 weeks the time during which mifepristone can be used in pregnancy. The 9 justices rejected a separate appeal from abortion opponents who challenged the FDA's initial approval of mifepristone as safe and effective in 2000. The case will be argued in spring, with the decision likely by late June, in the middle of the 2024 presidential and congressional campaigns. Mifepristone, made by the New York-based Danko Laboratories, is one of 2 drugs used in medication abortions, which account for more than half of all abortions in the U.S. More than 5 million people have used it since 2000. Yep. The Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to an abortion in June of 2022. That ruling has led to bans on abortion at all stages of pregnancy in 14 states, with some exceptions, and once cardiac activity can be detected, which is around six weeks in 2 other states. Abortion opponents filed their challenges to mifepristone the following November and initially won a sweeping ruling 6 months later, revoking the drug's approval entirely. The appeals court left intact the FDA's initial approval of mifepristone, but it would reverse changes regulators made in 2016 and 2021 that eased some conditions for administering the judge. The justices blocked that ruling from taking effect while the case played out, though Justices Samuel Alito, the author of the last year's decision overturning Roe, and Clarence Thomas said they would have allowed some restrictions to take effect while the case proceeded. Women seeking to end their pregnancy in the first 10 weeks without more invasive surgical abortion can take mifepristone along with misoprostol. The FDA has eased the terms of mifepristone's use over the years, including allowing it to be sent through the mail in states that allow access. In its appeal, the Democratic administration said the appeals court, the Fifth Circuit of Appeals in New Orleans, ignored the FDA's scientific judgment about mifepristone's safety and effectiveness since its approval in 2000. The White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said on Wednesday that the appellate ruling threatens to undermine the FDA's scientific and independent judgment and would impose outdated restrictions on access to safe and effective medication abortion. Lawyers for the anti-abortion medical groups and individual physicians who have challenged the use of mifepristone had urged the Supreme Court to turn away the appeals. The modest decision below merely restores the common sense safeguards under which millions of women have taken chemical abortion drugs, wrote the lawyers for Alliance Defending Freedom. Alliance Defending Freedom, which describes itself as a Christian law firm. The lead attorney on the Supreme Court filing is Erin Holloway, the wife of the Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Phenomenal. U.S. District Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk, an appointee of Donald Trump, initially revoked the FDA approval of mifepristone. Responding to a quick appeal to more Trump appointees, and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said the FDA's original approval would stand for now, but Judges Oldham and Judge and Kurt Engelhardt had said that most of the rest of I don't even know how I'm going to pronounce that, but whatever. This clown's ruling could take effect while the case winds through the federal courts. Besides reducing the time during which the drug can be taken, halting distribution through mail, patients who are seeking medication abortion would have to make 3 in-person visits with a doctor. Women also might have been required to take higher dosage of the drug than the FDA says is necessary. Healthcare providers have said that if mifepristone is no longer available or is too hard to obtain, they would switch to using only misoprostol, which is somewhat less effective in ending pregnancies. Yeah. Cool. Phenomenal times we're living in. What a phenomenal time that we're living in, where law wizards are telling you need permission from the magical law wizards to obtain healthcare that you need. And now it's now up to the same law wizards to determine whether or not you're allowed to take medication that your doctor is, going to be administering to you. Yeah, oppression is so in right now. Yep. Politicians telling me how to live, exactly. Phenomenal times. Switching gears here, judge hits pause on Trump's federal election case over presidential immunity appeal. So I believe that we went over this, or maybe not. I can't remember if I talked about this, but basically, yeah, okay, we did. I'm pretty sure we did. Where the Supreme Court is now is going to hear over whether or not there's such a thing as presidential immunity in this in this situation. So now, based on that, the judge presiding over the federal election interference case against Trump halted all proceedings in the criminal case on Wednesday, today, pending the outcome of Trump's appeal, arguing that he's protected by presidential immunity. All pending deadlines and court dates will be put on pause but not vacated, said the district judge Tanya Chutkan. If jurisdiction is returned to this court, it will, consistent with its duty to ensure both a speedy trial and fairness for all parties, consider at the time whether to retain or continue the dates of any still future deadlines and proceedings, including the trial that is scheduled for March 4th of 2024. 3 months from now, more or less. The ruling does not affect Trump's condition of release, the gag order, or the protective order in this case. Trump's campaign spokesman Stephen Cheung called the ruling a big win for President Trump and our rule of law, as it derails deranged Jack Smith's rush to judgment strategy of interfering in the 2024 presidential election in support of Biden's campaign. Peter Carr, spokesperson for special counsel Jack Smith, declined to comment. Chutkan ruled this month that presidential immunity did not shield Trump from charges that he illegally tried to subvert the 2020 presidential election results. Trump had contended that the Constitution grants him absolute immunity from criminal prosecutions for actions performed within the outer perimeter of his official responsibility while serving as president as long as he was not both impeached and convicted for those actions. Wait a minute. No. Also, what is what does overturning the election have to do with any type of official, responsibilities of the president? Overturning an election is not an official responsibility of the president. Also, damn, what is the mentality? The president has complete immunity. So if that's the case, then why are you even arguing that Republicans should be going after Joe Biden? If that's the case, then why are Republicans even going after Joe Biden? Since the president has absolute immunity from any criminal prosecution. This just doesn't make any sense. And Jesus said POTUS is without sin. Elwa links, yep, more delays. Maybe. Maybe. Only the guilty need immunity. Only wannabe dictators, right? Chutkan disagreed in her earlier ruling, saying the Constitution's text, structure, and history does not support that contention. No court or any other branch of government has ever accepted it, and this court will not so hold. Whatever immunities a sitting president may enjoy, the United States has only one chief executive at a time, and that position does not confer a lifelong get-out-of-jail-free pass. Trump also argued that denying his claim would have chilling effect on future presidents' decision-making processes. I'm comfortable with having a chilling effect on presidents trying to steal elections. Yeah, I think I'm okay with having chilling effects on presidents, current or future, on stealing elections. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. If the Scrotus agrees, we take it to the damn streets. Chutkan suggested it could be a positive outcome if the specter of subsequent prosecution encourages a sitting president to reconsider before deciding to act with criminal intent. That is a benefit, not a defect. Nice Uno reverse card. Every president will face difficult decisions. Whether to intentionally commit a federal crime should not be one of them. Trump quickly filed a note of appeal to Chutkan's ruling. Smith then asked both the U.S. Court of Appeals and District Court of Columbia Circuit and the Supreme Court to hear the appeal on an expedited basis. Trump's attorney urged the Court of Appeals not to expedite the case in a court filing earlier Wednesday. Whether a president of the United States may be criminally prosecuted for his official acts as president, but there was no official acts as president being done here. What official acts are you talking about? The official act of running a scheme to shoehorn fake electors to steal the election? That's not an official act. Not that I'm aware of. Geoduke, welcome. When the president does it, it's not against the law. True. Whether a president of the United States may be criminally prosecuted for his official acts as president goes to the core of our system of separated powers and will stand among the most consequential questions ever decided by this court, they wrote. The manifest public interest lies in the court's careful and deliberate consideration of these momentous issues with the utmost care and diligence. Bro. Smith's team countered that expediting the appeal in this case is necessary to vindicate the public's interest in a timely trial. Maybe it's referring to anything he does while in office, serving in official capacity, even if not exactly serving. Maybe. Maybe, but it just, I don't know. Maybe I'm not, reading it right. But to me, like when you are, acting in official capacity of the as president, that doesn't involve you making crimes, right? Like the reason why Nixon was was about to get into trouble, was because the stuff that he was doing was illegal, and they were going to oust him and remove him so that he can then potentially be tried or something. The cheesiest of cakes. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. They just keep bullshitting and bullshitting until all their drones can smell nothing but bullshit. Oh yeah, no, that's already there. That's already there. Like no matter what, in terms of what like the cult members believe, this is all a sham. To them, this is all a sham. There's nothing you can tell them. There's no amount of evidence that could come up. The jury can come back unanimous decision. He did everything. The overwhelming evidence can be showcased publicly. And none of these people are gonna believe it. I just heard Nixon boo that guy. I feel that. Trump just thinks that he can crime because that's all he's ever done. No one until now has ever both told him no and make sure that he sees real consequence. Yeah, that's true. It's a witch hunt. Deranged Jack Smith just wants to see your favorite president, me, in jail. I did nothing wrong and they indicted me. New York's High Court just blew up the fight for control of the House. He'll be my favorite president in jail. That'd be a first, too. New York's High Court gave Democrats a big leg up in the dogfight for control of the House of Representatives. The court on yesterday vacated the ultra-competitive court-drawn congressional map used in the midterms, ordering the map to be redrawn. That process is ultimately controlled by Democrats, so the ruling opens the door for Empire State Democrats to gerrymander the districts, ousting several Republicans in one swoop. I like presidents who didn't go to prison. The country's 2024 congressional map remains far from settled. Aside from New York, there's also a few big redistricting decisions that courts across the country may have to make. An aggressive gerrymander in New York could have a significant impact in the fight for the House. We already know what such a Democratic gerrymander could look like. Just look at what the one they drew last time. Democratic lawmakers drew a map last year that could have netted them as many as 22 of the 26 seats. Instead, the court-drawn map had several competitive districts that resulted in delegations of 15 Democrats and 11 Republicans. Democrats this time could draw lines to edge out some Republican incumbents to try to guarantee some pickups. The all-GOP delegation on Long Island is probably sleeping less soundly tonight, as the Staten Island's Nicole Maliotakis and the Hudson Valley's Mike Lawler and Mark Molinaro and Central New York's Brandon Williams. Even a few surefire wins could help erase the hole Democrats nationally are facing after Republicans drew a potent gerrymander in North Carolina that will all but guarantee the GOP picks up 3 or 4 seats there. Of course, the lines aren't everything. Even the court-drawn districts, President Biden carried 20 of the 26 districts by at least 4.5 points, but Democrats lost 5 of those 20 Biden districts. Theoretically, New York Democrats might not draw the map. Redistricting is being sent back to the state's bipartisan redistricting commission, which voters approved in 2014. The commission, which is split evenly between appointees loyal to the two parties, could usher through a new map by February 28 of 2023, which is the deadline. Sorry. Here's how it's supposed to work. The commission draws a map and sends it to the legislator for an up or down vote. If the legislator rejects that first map, the commission gets another crack at it. If the legislator rejects it a second time, then and only then does the legislator get to draw the lines. That's not what happened last year. When the commission met to draw New York's line for the next 10 years, the GOP and Democratic appointees failed to agree upon a map. The legislative Democrats passed their own gerrymandered maps instead. The state's Court of Appeals threw out the map, declaring the process unconstitutional, with a court-drawn map being used in the midterms. So there's an outcome here where the bipartisan redistricting commission draws consensus lines and the Democratic-controlled legislature gives it the okay. But there's still significant questions. Will the commission fail again? Will it find an agreement, but the Democratic-dominated legislature rejects it anyways? How aggressive would Democratic lawmakers be in gerrymandering the lines, and should they take over the process again? As long as gerrymandering is still a thing, Republicans are going to use it, no doubt about it. So I don't see why Democrats shouldn't use it, since that's the way this is made right now. In an ideal situation, gerrymandering shouldn't exist. But it does. And the Republicans use it. So the only logical thing would be for the Democrats to use it. As much as they have the option to. I agree with James on the internet about this. Dems should gerrymander the map so hard that the GOP begs for gerrymandering to be declared illegal forever. Yeah, in an ideal situation, gerrymandering shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be a thing. Both sides use it to their advantage after the voters. Well, that's a given, right? That's a given. I'm not a they go low, we go high girl, though. I just get high. Gerrymandering has long been a bipartisan affair. New York could prove that again. Some of the country's most audacious partisan gerrymanders come courtesy of GOP-dominated delegations in Texas, North Carolina, and Florida, but Democrats have taken their shots too, such as Illinois, and now New York Democrats could get the chance to do so again. To be clear, both parties don't gerrymander equally. Democrats on the federal level have repeatedly sought to draw on partisan gerrymandering as part of their sweeping proposals to overhaul the American electoral system, and Democrats broadly have more readily embraced independent redistricting commissions, although there are exceptions. I remember the days when you'd mention the bipartisan nature of gerrymandering and be hounded for it. Yeah, both sides do it. It should just not be a thing. It should not be legal. As long as it's a legal thing, as long as both sides get it, all fair is in love and war. Yeah, I mean, like the Democrats, should gerrymander the F out of the places that they can, because Republicans are doing the same thing. Republicans have no qualms with gerrymandering. Democrats on the federal level have repeatedly sought to outlaw partisan gerrymandering as part of their sweeping proposals to overhaul the American electoral system, and Democrats broadly have more readily embraced independent redistricting commissions, although there are exceptions. But some Democrats have long argued that when they have the opportunity to draw maps, they shouldn't have to fight with one fist, and national Democrats were the ones driving the lawsuit that led to Tuesday's decision. So how did the state court that said that redistricting commission had unconstitutionally failed to decide to give the process another go? Simply, the judges changed. All 7 of the judges in the New York Court of Appeals and the highest court in the state are Democratic appointees, both for the 2022 decision that led to the court-drawn lines and for Tuesday's ruling reopening the process. Both decisions were decided 4-3. But one seat changed. While 6 judges effectively ruled the same way both times, the 7th judge, in this case a temporary replacement, was the deciding vote. She sided with the 3 dissenters in the 2022 case to make a new majority this year. It's just the latest place we've seen a change in the state's court composition have dramatic effects in the battle for the House. Take North Carolina, for example. After the GOP took control of the state court in 2022, the new conservative majority tossed out a ruling from the previous iteration of the court that had said partisan gerrymandering was illegal. I mean, like, while both sides do it, I mean, it'd be nice if lawyers agreed no low blows or something, but it's not going to happen. Both legal teams will brief that they alone are the just one. With the new court saying it won't police gerrymandering, North Carolina Republicans drew their math, heavily skewing the lines. Another example, in Wisconsin, Democrats won an expensive state Supreme Court race earlier this year to flip ideological control of the court. The new Justice, Janet Protasiewicz, called the state's political boundaries rigged during the campaign. Shortly after she won, Democratic-aligned groups brought a case challenging the state's ruthless legislative gerrymanders. A fight over the congressional lines seemed only a matter of time. Redistricting used to primarily take place once every 10 years following the census as required by the Constitution. It was rare but not unheard of for the states to draw new lines after that. Now, mid-decade, redistricting has become routine. There's been just one election since 2020 census, and we've already seen the purely partisan overhauls of the lines of North Carolina, with New York possibly up next. There are significant challenges to racial gerrymandering across the country, which could also institute new lines and have a significant impact in the battle for the House. Alabama will have a court-drawn map in 2024 after the Supreme Court affirmed a lower court's ruling that the lines likely violated the Voting Rights Act for weakening voting power of black residents. The new map adds a second district where black Alabamans who are overwhelmingly Democratic will most certainly be able to elect a member of their choosing. There's also ongoing challenges in Georgia and Louisiana. Look to states like Texas for similar challenges in the later decade. Elsewhere, there are state-level efforts to police partisan gerrymandering, as is in Ohio or Nevada, that could ultimately lead to new lines before the 2031 remap. I mean, again, the ideal scenario would be that gerrymandering is just illegal, but here we are. Yeah, undermine democracy at all costs. That's why gerrymandering should be illegal. Forget no low blows. Sit them astride the top of one of those state fair strength tests and bring in the NCAA's top 100 linebackers to ring the bell. Supreme Court will hear case that could undo Capitol riot charges against hundreds, including Trump. Yep. Cool. The Supreme Court today, Wednesday, said it will hear an appeal that could upend hundreds of charges stemming from the Capitol insurrection, including against former President Trump. The justices will review an appellate ruling that revived the charge against 3 defendants accused of obstruction of an official proceeding. The charge refers to the disruption of Congress's certification of Biden's 2020 presidential election victory over Trump. That's among 4 counts brought against Trump and special counsel Smith's case that accuses the 2024 Republican presidential primary frontrunner of conspiring to overturn the results of his election loss. Trump is also charged with conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. The court's decision to weigh in on the obstruction charge could threaten the start of Trump's trial. Is currently scheduled for March 4th. The justices separately are considering whether to rule quickly on Trump's claim that he can't be prosecuted for actions taken within his role as president. A federal judge has already rejected that argument. The obstruction charge has been brought up against more than 300 defendants in a massive federal prosecution following the deadly insurrection of January 6th, when a mob of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol in a bid to keep Biden, a Democrat, from taking the White House. A lower court judge had dismissed the charge against 3 defendants, ruling it didn't cover their conduct. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols found that the prosecutors stretched the law beyond its scope to inappropriately apply it in these cases. Nichols ruled that a defendant must have taken some action with respect to a document, record, or other object to obstruct an official proceeding under the law. What? That makes no sense. They unambiguously obstructed a official proceeding. The entire Congress had to be evacuated. What are you talking about? It was obstructed. The proceeding had to be stopped. The problem with this is that it contributes significantly to the nationalization of local politics, a trend where many people intentionally confusing national issues and electoral campaigns with local ones. This leads to increased affective partisanship and really erodes the quality of political discourse as a whole, as well, of course, destabilizing society. Or at least ring the bell every time something they say doesn't pass a PolitiFact fact check. Wait, what do you mean, James? Are you talking about the gerrymandering? The Justice Department challenged that ruling, and the appeals court in Washington agreed with the prosecutors in April that Nichols' interpretation of the law was too limited. Other defendants, including Trump, are separately challenging the use of the charge. One defendant, Garrett Miller, has pleaded guilty to other charges and was sentenced to 38 months in prison. Miller, who's from Dallas area, could still face prosecution on the obstruction charge. The other defendants are Joseph Fisher, who's from Boston, and Edward Jacob Lang from New York's Hudson Valley. More than 1,200 people have been charged with federal crimes stemming from the insurrection, and more than 650 defendants have pleaded guilty. Gerrymandering is specifically the local element of how gerrymandering takes place. Gotcha. Was imagine live fact-checking during the debates? You mean like this? Facts don't matter to them. They just invent a new story to explain it. No doubt about it. It's a cult.
Yeah, he's always been a favorite of mine. Late night TV, I would probably watch Colbert. He's
out of
always
all
been,
of them.
Yeah, he's always been a favorite of mine. This guy has always been a very political person, and I would not ever host Lynn Cheney. Is it Lynn Cheney? Liz Cheney or Lynn Cheney.
Lynn is her mother.
I wouldn't host either one of them.
Sam has flipped tails on that guess, that 50-50 guess, maybe like 30 times.
I literally asked Bradley this morning, is it Liz or Lynn? I can't, I know. There's some things I just don't want to.
They hate science because they don't like the scientific method to draw the conclusion first and make the evidence fit. Yeah, exactly. No better demonstration than this dog and pony show, right? They're saying that Biden committed the crime. We don't know what that crime is, but they know there's a crime there. The evidence, we'll find the evidence and then we'll tell you what the crime is, right? We know it's there. We know he did some financially sketchy stuff.
Remember.
Yeah.
And I would never have her as a guest. And but I do think that there is value of Colbert here, having her as a guest on and trying to make the point that, like, you know, you never Trumpers, you're really like Trump, except for you're just not Trump. And that is a point that I think has managed to elide the consciousness of too many people who would vote against Trump.
I mean, that's on purpose by the Democrats, unfortunately, because...
Yeah, so another way of putting it is like, hey, look at Liz Cheney's voting record, okay? That's it. Usually evidence is a story about feelings. Yeah.
Is their incompetent party, but they keep trying to draw distinctions between the Republican Party and the MAGA extremists, and it's...
Well, I'll be damned. It's the same thing that I've been saying. It's the same thing that I've been saying. There's no point in differentiating. My sister's cousin, blah, 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 yep. The majority report finally listening to their... Yeah, they're literally unironically stealing my takes, okay? They're stealing my takes.
Completely counterproductive to their own interests.
Yeah. Here is Colbert trying to hold Liz Cheney to account for that. And, you know, good...
Has your voting record of like over 90-something% with Trump... I don't know. Have you had any self-reflection of what, like, the consequences of that could be?
20 years as to why he is not an aberration, but rather an avatar.
pause it. I just want to just remind you, youngins, if you look back 20 years ago, guess who was the vice president?
Yeah.
And many people considered that vice president to be sort of like running the show. As
Did
it
he
were.
overreach in his power and his authority in terms of his role as vice president?
Well, a lot of people say, where did this unitary executive theory come from? Well, it came from a guy named Dick Cheney when he was chief of staff of Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
And then came on to be, then he led the vice presidential search committee for George W. Bush. And oddly enough, he found himself.
Yeah.
But be that as it may.
Yeah, Liz is just following orders.
And also, I would just say people who are a bit more authoritarian in nature or who are far right, to use some of the framing of what Colbert says there, they tend to also kill a lot of people. And her father was instrumental in the illegal invasion and war in Iraq, which killed up to 1 million people by some counts.
100%. And here is Colbert basically saying, what about your dad? Without not so many words.
He preyed on their bigotry and hatred. He preyed on their unified bigotry and hatred. That's what he did. And that's what you did by literally backing him up almost every single time. There's a big difference between not being heard and not being agreed with. Yeah, that's true. That's exactly what he did. Yep. Exactly. He basically preyed on the hatred and bigotry. He's like, yep, you know what? You hate these people, and I'll give you a vehicle. I'll be the conduit to that. I'll be the conduit to that.
Very specifically through things like
preyed on their patriotism.
Every Republican.
I just want to
Well, Colbert is about to.
Okay,
make this
really?
point.
All right, I'm sorry,
Here,
but
here,
it's
go
just
back.
it's patriotism more like bigotry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I'm telling you. I think you're right, Duke. They're just literally stealing all my takes. Okay. Ooh, man. The Olympic levels of mental gymnastics that are going to need to be performed here. You know those people that are that think that if you don't agree, you didn't understand, so they say it louder? Yeah. Yeah. And then they have like the audacity to be like, the other side doesn't listen to us. No, we heard you. We just think it's abhorrent. We are quite capable of understanding what you're talking about, okay? It's not that we don't listen to you. It's not that we're dismissive. Oh, we heard you, and it's abhorrent. I think one of the deep introspective questions that many people, Democrats or left-leaning, whatever you want to label them or not, really ask themselves: what conditions have it brought about to which have quelled the fire that led to Donald Trump gaining millions of votes? That's it's a series of events that happened that led to that. I think the most simplistic. The most simplistic analysis of how this happened is like, well, decades of incompetence, decades of just allowing the working class to get hammered. I think that's part of it. If we learn anything from these waves of backlash from many Western sides, that calling them names is not a counter strategy. It simply does not work. No, I'm not calling them names. Although, but this idea that like we haven't heard their grievances, it's not that we haven't heard their grievances. It's that we understand, and we've been trying to explain how, while they feel the way they feel, it is misplaced. But they don't want to, they don't want to hear it. I don't agree it's patriotic. I do agree that they probably think it's patriotic. They did it to themselves. Reagan ruined the future and the economy and the middle class, and the right turned around and blamed the Dems. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this isn't new. This setup to where we are, this is not new. This is not, Trump didn't just appear out of nowhere. Trump didn't just appear out of nowhere. If you saw the institution of representative democracy, you stacked the dominoes for someone coming along and pointed to the fact that they've stopped representing them. Yeah, and then they're like, see, it doesn't work. The radical left swamp has taken over Washington, and I alone will be able to fix it. Because the problems facing the everyday American were not solved by the Washington swamp. Instead, I will focus on the problems. It's the brown people, folks. Okay, you gotta let me build the wall. Like, Let's try the Brian Kaplan ideological Turing test. Imagine you are a Trump supporter. What do you think the reason for you voting for him is? Most of the time is that literally, like, if you talk to them, a lot of it is like the Democrats have destroyed this country. The Democrats and their socialist, radical socialist, green, open borders policies have destroyed this country, and we just want to take our country back. Not everyone says that, but a lot of them just reflexively repeat and regurgitate some iteration of that. If you talk to them. How do I know this? Because I've talked to them. He hates the same people they do. Yes, that is couched in there. That is couched in there. I don't want an AR-15 rifle now, but I know how many there are and how easily anyone can convert one to become nearly automatic. I wonder if I should own my own. Well, I would definitely have to say that, like, modifying anything, especially modifying a firearm to be illegal, is a very, very harsh penalty, felony, I should say. The decision to owning a firearm is entirely up to you, but no, modifying a firearm in a way that it's illegal, that could land you in a very long time in jail, is not a good idea. I'd agree with that analysis, plus purpose in the school. That's right. Well, now, yeah, now we're back to the, is it the 50s? Or I can't remember, the gay predator panic. They're coming for your kids regurgitated, decades later. That's kind of been the kick. But ultimately, if you talk to somebody in 2016 and ask them why they voted for Trump, it usually falls around some of those lines. It usually falls along some of those lines. Now, I mean, these people are on completely different alternate dimension. Dude was not even sure he was a Republican most of his life. How no one noticed he cared about conservative values. Oh yeah, no, he doesn't give a shit about anything, except power. Owning a firearm drastically increases the odds of your family being hurt by guns. Look it up. Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. They're completely warped by false narratives in media. They will tell you that Biden likes kids and shit like that. Yep. They sell bump stock kits regularly, but somehow it's illegal once you fit it to a rifle. Yes. Although I don't know what the outcome of that was to that case law. I don't remember. But yeah, just listen. If you have a question, if you have to sit down and think about it, probably don't do it. Okay, I don't remember if bump stocks are still illegal or not. I don't know. Just don't do anything illegal. You can now order a $50 plastic U-shaped part or print your own if you own a 3D printer to make an AR nearly automatic. I already own pistols that are all locked up. Again, which I assume if you 3D print a shape or a part and it's not supposed to be on that firearm, that is a very no, that's not advisable. I think the penalty is like 10 years. 10 years and a felony. Besides, like, what would the purpose be? Like, functionally, like, what would the purpose be? Right? Anyways, the point being is, regardless, I just don't know what that this is a convincing argument, and to be honest, it's perfectly encroaching into the calling from the names thing I was referring to. If calling Trump voters names makes you sleep better than whatever, but it's absolutely not making the problem go away, and I don't think that this is a problem you can wait out either. It's a big misunderstanding of this, where many think that they can just hold out for a generational cycle. Maybe. At this point, like, well, the whole, like, everything that they're, like, that they believe is premised on a complete, warped, delusional worldview, that just isn't true. And it's not getting any better. Despite how many times I've argued with these people, it's not getting any better. So you're right. It's not waiting the problem out. It's proactively making sure that they don't have political power. That's it. That's it. You got to get out there and do what you got to do in terms of making sure that these extremists don't get voted in, right? We the people have to be proactive and make sure that these extremists don't get in office. Because, like, yeah, that's it. There's no, they're not going away. You're right. This problem isn't going away. And again, I've literally argued. I literally argued with, like, a close friend for years on end now. What are we now? 2016, and it's 2023. It's difficult. I was looking for the map of what legality is by state, and apparently the Supreme Court are hearing a case to make automatic weapons illegal. But, like, what would the point be, right? Like honestly, like, okay, it makes no sense. But then that's the problem, that Republicans say the same thing about Democrats. Right, I know, of course they say the same thing. My argument is that that worldview is based on a complete delusional, like, they're on a completely different alternative planet right now. The issue that I raise is that energy that drives these populist waves in Europe and North and South America is going to be untouched. Everyone thinks it's about individual leaders, but it's a demand issue side, not a supply side. Yeah, I've said, I think I've said in multiple times, I don't think it ends with Trump. If Trump goes away tomorrow, it's not going to stop. 1 in 4 Republican voters felt that most or all Democratic voters sincerely believed that they were voting in the best interest of the country. Rather, many Republicans told us Democrats voters are brainwashed by the propaganda of the mainstream media or voting solely in their self-interest to preserve undeserved welfare and food stamp benefits. Yeah, I've heard this one too. Okay? That's literally delusional. That's literally delusional. That is divorced from reality. DeSantis is trying to be Trumpier than Trump. What they would be like as president, I shudder to think. Look at Florida. You can't use logic to argue someone out of a position they didn't use the logic to get into. No, I agree. That's why I don't bother. you can only talk, to up to a certain point. If they can't meet you in the plane of reality, you can't really have a conversation. Like this is delusional. This is not true. In fact, I would argue that they're the ones, and this is objectively more correct than what they're saying. Objectively, they are more brainwashed by propaganda of their mainstream media. Do you want to look up, like, objectively who disproportionately uses more welfare? Like, first of all, let's take away the language of undeserved. But, like, disproportionately, because, like, everyone deserves help, okay? Everyone deserves help. But disproportionately, which states use up the most welfare? Yeah. Most had trouble looking through the world through democratic eyes. Typically, typical was a 59-year-old Floridian who wrote, "I don't want to work and I want to cradle to grave assistance." In other words, "Mommy, cover me harder," is what they usually say. Roughly 1 in 6, how do I know this? Because I argue with these people. Roughly 1 in 6 Republican voters answered in the persona of a Democratic voter who's motivated for free college, free healthcare, and free welfare. Wow, like that's a bad thing? They see Democrats as voting in order to get free stuff without having to work for it. Yeah, dude, I totally don't work at all. You know, the money that I make that goes towards taxes, that's just magic. Trump actually had a picture of Andrew Jackson while he was in office. True. Here in the UK, for example, one of the biggest issues is immigration is cleaving the Conservative Party in two, because there's basically a huge contingent of Brits who feel that immigration has gone too far, and to be fair, they isn't far off it. But the main parts of the Conservative Party are reluctant to actually challenging it beyond token gestures. But like, the energy is going to go somewhere, and either conservatives or the Reform, the new UKIP. Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there. Bums who want to pursue education. Yeah, like they like simultaneously say that we want a bunch of free stuff without working for it. But like, how do you think that happens? The free stuff just means free at the point of use, meaning it's funded by taxes. In other words, the things that the taxes that I pay, with my wages, because, I freaking work. Anyways, among the Republicans who seem to try hardest to take the perspective of sincere and patriotic Democratic voters, and the most common attributions related to immigration, a topic made salient by President Trump in his campaign stops during the last month of the cycle, and last month of the election, as in the Republican woman from Washington. Democrats welcome all people into the country, whether they're here legally or not. And the 429 voters in our sample returned the favor and raised some of the same themes. Democrats and further Republicans must be very ill-informed, because it's true, like objectively, like the numbers. That Fox News told me to vote for Republicans. Yeah, Fox News has done a lot of damage, or that Republicans are uneducated and misguided people, guided by what the media is feeding them. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, this is objectively correct. Name one country universal health care has worked in. Name one. Venezuela? And people from the other side of that tug of war are worried about being seen as international persona non grata that overturns laws and burns tribes. Like, if the energy isn't actually sapped, the problem dealt with to a degree that calms the storm, then the storm's going to just keep going and finding crazy outlets. Trump voters are kind of in that camp. They're people who are pissed off about something legitimately, and they feel like Trump is the only one willing to say so. Whether he does or doesn't actually is irrelevant, because they believe it and will back it. Yeah, but I think that the only part I disagree is that, like, their legitimate grievances have no standing at like no basis, because like they'll start by saying like, well, this country's being destroyed. Okay, how is it being destroyed? The Democrats, they just want to do socialism. They want to do radical green socialism and destroy this country. They've destroyed this country. Anyways, yeah. The only thing I disagree is like I think that their entire like premise is based on BS. Many also attribute it to individual self-interest, where GOP voters feel Democrats want free stuff. Many Democrats believe Republicans think, I got mine and I want the libs to take it away. Yeah, that's kind of, I mean, they've said that themselves. That's pretty true, to a certain extent. Many use the question to express their anger and outrage at the other side rather than to try to really take the position of their opponents. They say things like, I like the dictatorial system of government. I'm racist and I hate non-whites. Democrats think many Republicans sincere and point to policy. Democrats, however, are somewhat more generous in their answers. More than 4 in 10 felt that most Republican voters had the country's best interests at heart, combining the top 2 bars, and many tried their best to answer from the other perspective. A 45 male voter from Ohio imagined that as a Republican, he was motivated by a harsh stance on immigration, standing up for the Second Amendment, and promised tax cuts. Yeah, but like objectively, like the way that's that works out in policy is like very disastrous, right? We see what tax cuts have done. A 30-year-old woman from Colorado felt that Republican votes reflected the desire to stop abortion, stop gay marriage, and give us the coal jobs, which that's objectively correct. That's objectively correct. That's actually what they did. Republicans were dick about it? No, say it isn't so. Like you could see the dichotomy here and who's the problem, right? Like you can point to like, oh, this partisanship and like this divide is who's doing the dividing. Like there were strangers in no land, and if Ariel Hochschild would write that book in 2017, it would basically be the same or worse, and she wrote it before Trump was elected in 2016, so we're basically still here. Other Democrats felt that their opponents were mostly motivated by the GOP's opposition to Obamacare, lower taxes, and to support that party that reduced unemployment. Yeah, that's like a classic, right? That's like a classic Republican. I don't know. Oh, why did you enable 90% of it?
Now, if you want to talk about, for example, the
But pause just one second, just to dwell on like the notion of playbooks for a second. Like if I run like the Spurs playbook and my team has a real good success for it, it probably means the personnel was set up to run that playbook pretty well. I think like if Trump ran a playbook, a fascist playbook, why was the Republican Party so able to execute that playbook?
Listen, it was we sat on this program in the summer of 2016 when he announced. Or I should say the summer of 2015 when he announced this guy has a very good shot at winning the Republican primary. I will definitely concede that I did not think that he would win in the general election. But I was saying this guy's going to get on that stage with all the other Republicans and blow them off because the Republican Party had created essentially a suit. And it was perfectly tailored to someone like Donald Trump, and
her dad was the tailor.
Well, her dad was very much
bought the fabric.
Yeah,
bought the fabric.
He's like
the tailor, all of it. And but guess where she's going to go with here? How is she going to?
Yeah, and you can even kind of stretch that analogy out at that allegory. Is that an allegory? Well, I don't know, whatever it's called. To say like, well, Reagan bought the tailor shop initially. Trump would have run for the Dems if they thought it was a better chance.
Respond to the idea that your party seemed to really respond to all of this racism And, well, of course, here she's going to go with, can anybody guess? Go.
It's the Dems. It's the left. I knew it. God damn, I'm good. A symbolic representation, a blindfolded figure with scales is an allegory of justice. Okay, so it is an allegory. But which left? No, it's just the left. Okay, these people don't care. They're not interested in differentiating into like pointing out individual. Like it doesn't matter. Surely not the radical extreme communist Marxist left. CRT will come up soon. No, it's exactly that. By which what they mean is just generic liberal Democrat person. It doesn't matter. They don't really they don't bother to differentiate. I don't like sports analogies, but yes, completely off. Yeah, nice. I knew it. I was like, damn. What did I say earlier, chat? What kind of Olympic levels of mental gymnastics are going to be needed to perform here? Yeah. How many Biden voters know what CRT is? To be frank, I don't know. But Republicans and the right sure have made a really big deal about it. They're the ones that are making a big deal out of it. That's the difference, right? Because it's probably true that like God knows how many like people like are actually going around trying to figure out what this is. The only people that are making a big deal about it and making it like, oh, they're indoctrinating kids with CRT or whatever, and they're like, oh, well, oh shit, what is that? You know, CRT. Oh, okay. I don't know how many Biden voters are waving placards pushing to introduce CRT either. Yeah, because it's not like a big thing, but there are Republicans and the right have made it a big thing. That's the difference. That's the difference. Has the U.S. woken up to genocide? No, we're still transferring weapons. Most people only voted for Biden because he wasn't Trump. Yes. But they've literally backed up overwhelming. Like the Republican Party is an institution. It's overwhelmingly backed up. Okay. If I was American, I would have voted for Trump. Cool story, bro. October 7th was my birthday and I was just getting over COVID, but timing, jeez. Wow. I love how when I misspell, it just shouts myself. It just shouts me out. So no matter what, even if I make a mistake, my bot will just say, my bot will just shout me out. Not totally sure that argument works, only because Democrats don't need to be pro CRT. It just need to basically not oppose it already being implemented in certain institutions. Well, a lot of them aren't. There isn't like a pro CRT movement. It's part of like the Democratic platform. Most of it is just like making fun of Republicans completely unable to understand what it is. Most of it is that's what it is. There isn't like a big policy position that Democrats take in terms of being like pro CRT or whatever. Like literally listed in policy stuff, like Republicans that run for office will be like, we need to stop CRT and the woke indoctrination. Like, bro, the only people doing this are Republicans, okay? I was gonna say being woke is actually good, guys. It's called being respectful. I've seen people pro CRT, not seen it as a democratic policy though. It's because it's not. It's not. There's no push in the Democratic Party to be like, we need to be pro CRT to shove it to the Republicans. Yeah, run it from under the pizza shop. Whew. Whew. Man, can we replay that again? The GOP set the political Can we replay that again? The GOP set the political finance system as it is, and now they want to blame the Dems for partaking. It's about as big as an issue as kitty litter in the bathrooms. Yep, a thing that like was never like a thing. You can be respectful and not be woke. They're not synonymous. I don't know. Damn. Hey, can we get a quick overview as to who supports your party? I'm not woke, but here I am being respectful. Well, people on the right would say that you are being woke. If you're in favor of like, you know, feminism, if you're in favor of like equal rights for people of color, if you're in favor of like rights for trans people, like that's woke. That's woke. The problem starts when your stances themselves are offensive. That makes it harder to have a friendly agreement. It's obviously hard to navigate these issues because I don't want to sound like I'm some defender of the right, because I'm not trying to be, but I do think it's important to be fair. Republicans will weaponize things to the extreme because any campaign does it. But generally, the American public is more nuanced than that. It's often given credit for many issues. I think it's important to embrace the nuance rather than compartmentalize it. No, well, normally that's why I attack. Normally that's why I attack like the Republican Party as like an institution, and I singled out people. And sometimes there is a use for generalizing, because it seems to be a trend to make a point. Being woke means respecting people's pronouns and identity and receptive differences. The right doesn't do that. It's a very narrow definition. That's not very narrow. It just means like, well, the thing is like the right basically says what being woke is everything like that I don't like, and being woke just means like having minorities like that. That's what it means to them. The opposite of woke is dozed. Yeah, I'm kind of dozed, you know.
And the symbolism that the people had who invaded the Capitol on January 6th, they had neo-Nazi insignia. The Confederate flag.
Right, pause it.
Yeah, and who did those people support, Liz Cheney? Yeah. The Republican Party.
Listen, there's something called the Southern Strategy. There's something called LBJ saying we're going to lose the South for decades after the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. I mean, this is all complete revisionist history.
Where did Reagan launch his campaign?
In
Mississippi.
Yes,
yeah.
where specifically just by the Neshoba County fair, where you had civil rights workers, 3 civil rights workers killed, but also launched it, we should say, in that general election on the idea of states' rights,
yep.
Which of course was not too subtle code. But just in case you forget, and I don't think that Colbert felt it appropriate to bring this up, here is the very reasonable, non-Trumpy Lynn or Liz Cheney. I can never remember. Liz Cheney in 2019, before she started thinking like maybe.
Jesus, Sam, get it together.
I need to.
I want to sell a book,
some distance,
which is what she's doing, by the way, on the Colbert Show.
Yeah, and that's also why she's floating that she's going to run for president. She's not going to run for president.
Oh yeah,
she's selling a book, and here she is on 2019. Just in case you, for even a second, want to glorify her or raise her stature, here's just how decrepit of a person she is.
Add sparkle to any design with glitter stick.
Here's how decrepit she is. Have a ad on stickers.
That every American understands what today's Democrat Party stands for.
Just in case you, for even a second, want to glorify her or raise her stature. Here's just how decrepit of a person she is.
Sure that every American understands what today's Democrat Party stands for with respect to babies and with respect to the murder of babies. We have seen now in states across the country the introduction of legislation.
Dude, murders are happening left and right to babies. Okay? This is a real thing that's happening.
That would enable the killing of babies. This is not about...
True. Left and right, dude. All across this country, from sea to shining sea, there is literally just like murder, like baby murders across the state, across the country. Okay? The carnage. The carnage is just unheard of, okay?
About abortion. This is about killing babies after they are born. And it is the face of pure evil. And you've seen the leadership of the Democrat Party here on the Hill remain silent.
You have no idea how long I've waited to legally murder a baby.
Silent while elected leaders, including the governor of Virginia, described in very cold clinical terms how he would in fact facilitate the murder of a baby that had already been born. And I want to say personally, as a mother, I'm the mother of 5 kids. I've delivered 5 babies.
Not sure if you can say sea to shining sea. Oh, that's right. That's, yeah.
And the idea that we have to say today to mothers all across this country that we've got to describe what the Democrats are doing is really horrific. And
I can't even. It's so horrific. I can't even listen to how she has to struggle through talking about how Democrats want to legalize the killing of babies. I mean, because at first it started.
Don't kill them before delivery. Yeah, that's the key. Okay, that's the legal loophole. That's the legal loophole. Okay, you got to make sure you kill the baby before delivery. And that's the biggest cause of death for children come out of the womb. Oh no, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But like you see like the difference between like how do we communicate with that? This is completely delusional, right? Like nobody rational is listening to Liz Cheney and going, yes, this makes sense. Okay? Or like, yes, I think we can I think we can negotiate with this person. You know what? This person and I can have a rational discussion.
It's like, when they're like 6 months old and 1 year old, and then all of a sudden you're just killing babies up and through their toddlers and then into their teens.
Yeah. I've got a baby killing
all
appointment.
All the laws that have been passed which legalize murder.
Yep. Oh, I'm feminist now. I'm going to kill my first grader so I can live a feminist life. It happens all the time because the Democrats like it.
I mean,
Yeah, you see, like that's the thing, James. We're going to talk about children, and then we're going to talk about like, you think these people care? The moment that these children leave the womb, that these babies leave the womb. But then you don't think you have to communicate with them. It's normal. It's normal people think, who I think are looking for a voice. Even Republicans support abortion access to degrees, and this is why I think it's totally wrong for the party, because they're not actually representing their constituents properly. Yeah, but it's not just like they're not just representing their constituents, or maybe they are the extreme elements of it. Maybe they are representing the extreme elements. But the point being is that, politicians in general just really don't represent their constituents, as you can see. And I agree. That's why I don't communicate with them. Okay, that's why I don't have. I'll have debates, but I'm not trying to convince people. And if they're that gone, if they're that far gone, I'm not trying to convince people. Now, if you're open to it, that's a different story. We'll take a different approach. But the point being is that these are the people in power. These are the people in power. When she was a representative at that time, she got elected. Like, they're happy to represent constituents' desires when it comes to immigration, which is based on xenophobic bullshit. So, yeah. Goes back to the whole playing on hatred and bigotry. But they'll ignore when it comes to, say, moderation on abortion access. That's bad. It also means that there's a lot of Republican voters who lose a significant part of their voice. Well, a lot of us have lost a significant part of our voices, right? Even in the case that exceptions should be made, governors are taking pride in how many they reject, throwing out humanity, embracing optics. Yeah. Embracing optics for political points, because they know that this is what keeps them in power. So therefore, I don't know, man. I don't know, because they're being elected. So another way of putting it is people are voting for them. Yeah, there is something in common. Bigotry and xenophobia that's being driven by this like radical cult. So they feel as annoyed as you do. Yes, but for different reasons. And the reasons why I'm annoyed is because the Democratic Party has been completely useless, has not made as much strides towards more improvements in people's lives, versus like the Republicans are mad that they haven't gotten their theocratic view more quickly. And again, this is not just me making a straw man. This is me having to face these people. Politicians like Liz will dance around the topics and just won't say, God said it's bad. Yeah, exactly.
She is, just like honestly,
useless.
And she has a constituency of 0. She literally could not get elected to the House from Wyoming, where her father, the former vice president, was from. I mean, give me a break.
I mean, how long?
Like, how few people can you represent?
Well, I mean, she's going to represent, I would say, most likely an audience when she gets some sort of cable gig on MSNBC, because it seems to me that as they oust real progressives like Mehdi Hassan, their priority is getting a bunch of former Republicans to come on and be as right-wing as possible. Nicole Wallace. Joe Scarborough,
Michael Steele. Michael Steele is one of the guys in the panel show.
She's up next. I guarantee
replacing Mehdi's time slot.
I would not be. Michael Steele.
It's like Michael Steele, Alicia Menendez, and another person, if I'm not mistaken.
So, like the literal former head of the Republican Party
Correct.
is going to have a host on MSNBC.
Former RNC chair. Yeah.
Okay.
I also just love in that clip how this is obviously any sort of.
One day I'll get you to that point. Well, the thing is, like, yeah, I do in place, like. I do judge if your morals are abhorrent, right? Like, I'm going to have a different opinion of a person who was like, yeah, I just think that, like, I just think that, like, a certain group of the population shouldn't have rights. Yeah, I'm going to have some, it's going to be hard to be empathetic, because that person has then voted into power people who have made large groups of people lose rights. So it's harder to be empathetic and to not have moral judgments on people who are like, yeah, I'm kind of okay with like taking away rights of people's. No, I don't think that's exactly a bad thing to be like, I think that's kind of wrong. Think more about how they get frustrated and live shit lives. Much and less so much about what that manifests into. These people are more often not need help rather than telling off. Well, if they're open to it, that's a different story. The difference is if they're open for change, the difference is if they're open for change, then yeah, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different ballgame, and I approach that differently than I do approach people, who just come at it from a completely unbending way. They get dismissed as getting dismissed as a basket of deplorables is certainly not a great tactic. but they always run the numbers. Does that statement get more or fewer votes overall? Yeah. I get this a lot with Brexit voters here in the UK that constantly fight against the current. They are racist and stupid, trying to turn to they're anxious and they don't know how to deal with that huge change in their environment as their world falls apart. Well, that means that a person, you have to just speak with them because there's a lot of people of these types. I can't speak for what's happening in the UK, but a lot of these Trump cultists, they're just not going to change. They're just not going to change. And the way that it's manifesting itself is hurting a lot of people. And if you can't be bothered to take a second and to have some introspection, then I can't do it. You know what I mean? If you can't be bothered to have like 5 seconds of introspection saying like, damn, like all this is kind of bad. Damn, this is kind of bad. Then like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Does that make sense?
Break with Trump.
So it's not like, again, it's not that I'm not listening to these people. It's not that I haven't like taken the time to talk to them. It's that I have, and I feel like they have, and I feel like what they've been doing is abhorrent. And now it's to the point where they've crossed lines. They've crossed lines. And the best that we can do is to make sure that they stop winning political power. As far as we can do.
Where she's Liz Cheney is the fourth in line in the GOP leadership. She's the House conference chair at that point, and she's doing all of the things of like the Democrat Party. Like,
of course, yeah, she's doing Frank. Yeah, no, she got Frank. Yeah, she's full Franklincified. She's doing the exact same thing. She didn't have a word to say until like 16 months out, and she's like, "Oh, maybe I got a shot here." And
I feel like I can kind of break down the barrier to them simply on the premise that I don't immediately judge what they say. Well, it depends on what they say. Do you want what you are proposing for others happen to you? Seems like a question they should ask themselves. People should ask themselves. Yeah, like I understand that they're human beings. It's just that they're human. They're abhorrent. And I disagree with that. We should all be engaging in introspection, right? We can. I think we all can. I think we all can. If I'm wrong and I have to sit there and realize why I was wrong and what I'm doing, like if I come to the realization that I'm doing something wrong, then it would be incumbent on me to figure that out and then do better, right? I don't always immediately judge what everybody says. It just depends on what you say. Like if the thought process that you have equals and has the logical conclusion of like, well, so, just a certain group of people are just not going to have rights, then like, yeah, at that point I'm going to be like, no, I think that's good for me. I don't even think it does though. It kind of take the position of people like Lord Ross, where it's more like someone says something bad, respond with, that's a very interesting position. Why do you think that? Judge and push back on the idea rather than the person is a good one. Yeah. And depending on the person, if they're open enough, you may or may not be able to have a conversation. But that's all premised on whether or not like these people are like living in reality or not, because like there's no point in going down a rabbit hole if like you're literally trying to be like, that's a very interesting position of like flat earth.
Who's to hold powerful people accountable. And there's a lot to that. I mean, that's what the human rights movement has always done. But most people are calling others out of fear. Or they're feeling that they need to belong to something. And some people think that they'll feel better about themselves if they put somebody else down. And then there's too many people, in my opinion, who think that they can become famous by defaming somebody else. Most of us want all of this violence to stop, but we don't know where to begin. And most of us stay silent because we're afraid that we'll become the next target. So even if something feels unfair, we're silent. And if you're unlucky enough to have something that you've regretted captured on cell phone or in a tweet, you're walking around with an unexploded gotcha bomb just waiting to blow up your life or your career or your reputation. I guess I need to ask, how many of us here have done something in our past that could come back to haunt us? One of my students once said...
And the point being is that if you get called on it, your response to that should tell, like, I don't know, like, Loretta Ross is an amazing person, unbelievable life experiences, very upsetting in parts, but inspiring. Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing, like, on the premise of what she's saying, at all. But that's incumbent upon the other side reciprocating that receptive ability. Does that make sense? I don't know. Because what she's saying absolutely works if all parties involved are being rational, and want to have this discussion, and don't want violence or whatever. I don't know what the context before that was. But yeah. Put in chat if you have done something in your past you're not proud of. Yeah, that's everybody, okay? All like dozen plus of you, all right? Okay? Everyone. Push back on the idea rather than... I get what your position is, but I think one of the main aspects is that the objective should not always be about how do I get this person to change, because that immediately implies that there isn't anything about that person. Because that immediately implies that there isn't anything this person can say that might make you change. That's not true. That's an independent, well, in my opinion, it should be considered independent, right? Because I'm trying to, depending on the nature of the conversation, I might genuinely be trying to change somebody. But that's irrespective of the fact that even in a completely different topic, they may say something that could change my perspective on something. That's independent. If I'm fighting to change a person's mind, that is completely separate than like them saying something that might make me step back. That's different. Those are two different. Those are independent possibilities. Those are independent tracks. Those are independent tracks. It is quite possible that in a conversation where I'm trying to change somebody, that's independent. But then it could be, what if the position you're trying to change is wrong and you don't know it yet? Eventually, in my opinion, if you have the ability to be introspective, you'll come to that conclusion. If you listen and realize, like, objectively, like, you're just wrong, dude, then a person who is being rational will arrive at that conclusion. Being like, oh, damn. Yeah, I guess I was wrong. It might not be in the first conversation. It might not be with the first person you talk to. But if you're going to be intellectually honest, eventually you'll reach that conclusion and be like, oh, damn, dude. This entire time, I've been fighting for, I don't know, whatever, a tax bracket of like 5%, whatever. But it turns out that, like, I've been wrong. The tax bracket should be like 15%. I don't know, whatever. I'm making up some silly scenario. But, like, the point being is that, like, yeah, if I'm fighting for a position and I realize that it's wrong, after engaging with it enough, and I think and I hope you should have introspection to be like, damn, I am wrong. You know, I keep fighting for this, but like, I keep getting my my butt handed to me on a silver platter. That's kind of like, maybe I'm the problem. maybe I'm the problem. I think I still hold out hope that there's things that Democrats and Republicans talk about which they can build bridges with. That doesn't need to be you're wrong, but instead that's fair. Let me meet you somewhere in the middle. It depends on what that is, you know? If you want to talk about like policy, like tax policy or something, whatever. But there is no debate when it comes to like certain people need to have rights, right? There's no debate when it comes to bodily autonomy, right? Like we're not meeting. I'm not meeting somewhere. It's somewhere in the middle. Like bodily autonomy is like private, like it's non-negotiable. As an example, that's just an example because we were talking about what Liz Cheney said. To kind of wrap it around and bring it all back. That's not negotiable. If I'm talking about like tax policy, then sure, have at it. I think people appreciate being met where they are rather than being spoken down to, and certainly if we're going to build bridges, that's what we need to do more. Yes, but even if you hold that to be true, it's not great. It's not a great intro to a conversation. It depends. It depends. It depends on the energy that you're... Because, like, if your purpose of the conversation is to try to build bridges, they're going to need to be open to that to begin with. They're going to need to be receptive to that. And you'll know when you talk to people. You'll know. Like, I have people that I fight with all the time. And as long as they are listening... as long as they are listening, then there's a chance. But I'm just saying, like, it can't. Conversations can't happen unless there's like a basis of reality. I think you're correct that some people won't change or can't change, at least under certain circumstances, for the real deliberate interactions to work with. They have to be in the environment of trust, somewhat similar fundamental beliefs. It's hard to build that world where people can do it effectively, and it gets harder the more people think that stakes are increasing, which undoubtedly, unfortunately, that may be the case. That may be true. That might be true, because it is. Like people thought that it was crazy talk. That like, oh, you're just freaking out because you're just freaking out over Trump. You libs. You libs are just freaking out over Trump. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to overturn Roe v. Wade. Silly libs. I don't know, man. The stakes are increasing. With all media and society so siloed these days, it's getting more and more so. The opportunities to find agreement are precious. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's entirely up to them. In my opinion. I hope that makes sense. All right, folks. It's about to be 8 o'clock, so I gotta get going. No, it's not about to be. It is 8 o'clock. Jeez. All right, folks. I gotta get going. Folks, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. It's 1 a.m. here. Jesus. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, time for Betty Pie. Well, for me, it's time for food. But yeah, definitely. I think it was a productive chat, as always. Folks, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. Join the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTubes. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Make sure you join the Discord, okay? Remember, folks, December 30th, movie night, and whatever. point being is every last Saturday of the month, we'll try to make a movie event. We'll try to make a movie event, so make sure if you want to participate to join the Discord. Also, you get notifications. You get to hang out with cool people. So it is a nice and cozy little place for now. Feel free to join, and feel free to join us in 2 weeks, I think. 3 weeks? Last Saturday of the month. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for keeping the chat chill. Thank you all. Thank you for the biddies, follows, subscriptions. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, 2.5 weeks. Thank you, folks. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya! You have a good one. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Surfer McGrady. Appreciate you stopping by. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.